San Francisco's failed progressive policies are on full display as two of its biggest hotels sell for a 75% discount. Hey, you want 3/4 off anything? Yes, please, I do. How about take two of San Francisco's biggest hotels? Okay. What is causing this? Let's get into it. Here we go. I'm going to read this from the San Francisco Standard. We're also going to go through a daily overview. It's got a kind of a synopsis of, here's the example, and it's our article. Here's what's going on. Here's a little background. The sale, hailed as another sign of downtown's resurgence, marks one of the city's most consequential real estate transactions of the year. Well, they seem to have forgotten about the Westfield Center Mall that won't sell at foreclosure auction because nobody wants it. So they want these hotels, two of San Francisco's biggest hotels. Yeah, we'll take them, but we're going to pay 25% of what they were valued at in 2016. 25%. That is an amazing discount. Amazing discount. Two of San Francisco's biggest hotels are selling at a massive discount, while Mayor Daniel Lurie hailed as another sign of downtown's resurgence. See, I have a tough time with the idea of resurgence when your flagship properties are selling at 75% off. That to me is a fire sale. That is indicative of some major street conditions that are not being addressed, market conditions that are not being addressed. Do I think Daniel Lurie is headed in the right direction with his policy in San Francisco? Yes, I do. I think specifically his sweep of the homeless folks, his basically cleaning up the streets, I think he's gone in the right direction. Proposition F, California, which basically means, was that San Francisco specific? I can't remember. Proposition F, which indicates, hey, if you're going to get a bunch of money as a whacked out homeless drug addict, you at least have to provide a clean urinalysis. That's where San Francisco is at. So San Francisco literally, I think, bottomed out and went, holy crap, we're selling our buildings at a massive discount because nobody wants to go to a hotel where you got people crapping on the sidewalks, sleeping on the sidewalks in tents. Nobody wants to deal with that. So you got to clean up that downtown core, right? I think Daniel Lurie has done as good a job as can be done in San Francisco, and San Francisco is headed in the right direction. But, and it's everything after the but that counts, right? But the impacts of prior years, decades and decades and decades of progressive policy are what's causing the 75% discount. The damage is already done. It's already embedded into the marketplace, which is, big companies are saying, no, we're not going to do our convention here. Hell no, we're not doing our convention here. We're going to go over to somewhere else where it's safe, where you don't have homeless people shitting on the sidewalks doing their thing, right? Doing drugs, having sex, just a lot of sex. That's what the whacked out drug addicts do. New Bond Holdings and Conversant Capital teamed up to buy Park 55 and Hilton Union Square for a combined $408 million. That's 75% less than the value of the property when they were appraised for refinancing in 2016. Now you might say, well, Sean, that was wildly overappraised. Big building like that, you're going to have cap values, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. You're going to have consistent capitalization values. I don't think that's that far off. It's in the billions, right? Just in the billions. Bloomberg broke news of the financial transaction on Friday, 2 months after the deal came to light in court filings. Park Hotels, a Virginia-based real estate investment trust, bought the Hilton in 2010. in 2000 and Park 55 in 2015. A year later, Trust took out a $725 million loan for renovations. But in 2023, the owner defaulted on the debt, letting the hotels lapse into foreclosure amid a post-pandemic upswing in remote work and decline in tourism. With 3,000 rooms between the two properties, they represent almost 10% of the city's hotel capacity. 10% right here, 408 million. Mayor noted in announcing the acquisition on Friday. New owners said they want to invest $200 million into upgrading the hotels, he added. So people are going in a couple of different directions. You got a whole bunch of office space. You got malls that should be turned into soccer stadiums, right? You've got all these big commercial buildings, and people are going one of two directions. Well, we're going to convert them into housing because everybody keeps saying we need more housing. Does anybody want to live in these locations in downtown San Francisco in converted housing that's kind of goofy? No, probably not. The second one is they just double down on what the use already is. Well, this is a hotel. We're going to spend $200 large to make it a better hotel. We're going to spend $200 million upgrading our slightly outdated skyscraper filled with office space so that we can attract a better tenant. All right. Yeah. Okay. And with a vacancy factor of 35, 40% in San Francisco, something like that, depending on who you want to listen to, depending on what, avenue you take. Some people are saying that the actual physical office space that is vacant in California, in San Francisco right now, is more like 50%. So 1 out of every 2 spaces vacant. And that would include space that has leases on it, but the tenants aren't there because they're already working remotely. And they just got, tied into a lease that they got to, they can either bail out or get it subleased or whatever. But a bunch of companies are just keeping their space and going, can't wait for that to expire. Lori called the transaction great news for the city. Okay. As it prepares for the Super Bowl and World Cup in the coming year. All right. So you got massive fire sales going on in your city. Massive fire sales. Can't sell one of your biggest malls. Not sellable. Went to foreclosure auction and no bids. 2 existing lenders took it back with a credit. Right? You guys are already owed over $600 million. We're not going to make you pay for it in order to take it back and sell it. So we're going to issue you a credit. Oh, great. All right. Let's buy this on credit. Seems outstanding. We already owe hundreds of millions of dollars. They just need to get it moved to the next buyer, right? So is it a positive sign? Well, at least these sales are taking place. And what this does is it resets. All right. Here's the new numbers. The new world order is you paid $408 million for that property. You didn't pay that obligates you to a bunch of debt that you can't cover with today's current rates for hotels. Big problem with San Francisco is so many companies won't send their folks to conventions in San Francisco because they're wildly concerned about their company's reputation. Hey, you sent us to San Francisco. What in the actual F were you thinking? I stepped in human poop. They have a poop map there? Yeah, so does Ron DeSantis. No, was it J.D. Vance? No, it was Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, there's your poop map in San Francisco as he was debating, Newsom, I think it was? Classic stuff. Visitors are returning. Conferences are choosing San Francisco again. It's a good time to bet on our city. I don't think it's a bad bet. But let's see if, can we hyperlapse this? No, we can't. Some of these are some absolutely stupendous deals, but you got to have big pockets either to do the renovation, take on a conversion from office or, whatever it is, hotel to whatever you're going to convert that to. You're just going to fix it up and, hope to get more. Or hold it for a long time. Wait for that market to come back. You got to have some deep pockets. So for those who can pick these deals up, I think these are some absolute steals that we are watching time and time and time and time again. Because we're covering all these, right? Now, we get a little bit of a greater breakdown here. Hotel values collapse as buyers demand deep discounts. Well, they're not able to charge per hotel room what they once were. There's not the demand in San Francisco that there once was. And this isn't just San Francisco. This is every major market. But some markets like Seattle, like Portland, like San Fran have layered in whacked out homelessness on drugs, committing crimes in the streets, shooting, taking a crap in the streets. Now, one of my more infamous podcasts that people bring up is the Westfield Mall, where you had over a 400% increase in a short amount of time of human excrement incidents on the hotel elevators to the Westfield Mall. 400% increase in people pooping in the elevator. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the specifics there, but, I've talked about it dozens of times on this channel because you got a bunch of whacked out people running the streets. And then they try and go to the public restrooms, which are on the second floor of Westfield Mall. They can't quite get there. And so they just, it's terrible. Terrible. Could you imagine? What did I just step in? Hotel floor isn't supposed to be slick like that. Tourism, business travel, and convention demand have not fully returned. I love these articles. Now, we're not quite there yet, but this is a good transition period. You got to spin it, right? You got to spin it positively. Because if you were honest, if you were a mayor and you just looked around and went, man, my city sucks, do not invest here. Do not move here. This is a train wreck going straight to hell. Nobody'd ever come. Oh, that's the mayor? That's the mayor's opinion of his own city? I mean, that's almost as bad as Katie Wilson, our new mayor here in city of Seattle, stating, hey, don't buy from Starbucks, which is a Seattle company. You know what I mean? It's almost that dumb. It's just like that. Just like that. So remote work and empty offices drag down the urban core. That is the story of every single downtown core in America. But some, like I said, have been layered down with other nonsense progressive policy, which is, hey, man, let everybody do all the drugs they want. And, let's not incarcerate people because, justice reform's really going to work. Let's create a system where they can just steal from the community, rob grocery stores, rob Target, rob local residents, and then, sell for pennies on the dollar and get their $5 and, get their hit of fentanyl. And they just rinse, repeat all day long. All day long. They just keep doing that. And then you wonder, why are all the businesses leaving? Why don't people want to be in downtown? I don't understand. Here we go. Public safety, street conditions, and political backlash shape investor sentiment. Hotel buyers are not just looking at spreadsheets. They're also watching headlines about crime, open-air drug use, and visible homelessness in and around key tourist districts, which we have covered many times. While overall crime statistics in San Francisco are complex and in some categories have improved, the perception among many visitors and convention planners is that the city's streets feel less orderly and less predictable than they did a decade ago. Absolutely. When you have to have a poop emoji map to outline all the poop incidents in your city, human poop, that is not a good thing. That perception matters because large groups and corporate events are sensitive to reputational risk, like I was talking about earlier. And several high-profile conferences have either downsized or relocated in recent years, a pattern documented in coverage of overt cancellations tied to safety concerns. Yeah, people don't want to go there. They're not going to go there and do what they did a decade or two ago because conditions have changed wildly. What distressed hotel sales signal for San Francisco's broader recovery? When hotels sell at 75% off their prior valuations, the deal has become a benchmark for pricing other types of downtown real estate, from offices to retail. Appraisers, and lenders look at the implied cap rates and revenue assumptions in these transactions and then apply similar skepticism to neighboring properties. which can trigger a feedback loop of write-downs and tighter credit. In their sense, the hotel market is functioning as an early warning system for the city's broader commercial landscape. I would say that is not correct because this is the first hotel that I've documented selling. We've had many, many, many buildings sell, and we've talked about those, and we've talked about the struggles of Westfield Mall, right? Like not selling. We've talked about so many of these. It's not a hotel issue exclusively. It's a downtown issue, and it's a commercial issue, and commercial buildings hold tenants. At the same time, you've got businesses that want to come in and do their convention. But let's be honest, conventions are kind of a thing of the past, a little bit. Like we do so much online, so many Zoom, so many video, so much of that stuff that there is less reason to physically get people together like we used to do in big conventions. You're still going to have some of that go on. But the notion that if I send my employees, if I send my management team, if I send my best customers to this convention, I don't want them coming back and saying, why in the heck did you choose San Francisco? It was nutso there. You should have seen what happened on the intersection of and. Nobody wants to have that impact the reputation of their business. So what do? They go to Miami. They go somewhere else, right? They go somewhere else. They go to Dallas. They go somewhere else where they know they're not going to have this kind of absolute nonsense. They're not going to have poop in their shopping mall's elevator. It's just not going to be a thing because they've got leadership who's put their foot down and had reasonable policy covering homelessness, covering street conditions, covering just general governance, right? When a homeless encampment in Texas gets out of order, you've got a Democrat mayor typically. You know what happens? The governor, same thing in Oklahoma, basically says, all right, yeah, you guys need to clean out there. We're sending the National Guard. They're going to help you out because you can't seem to get out of your own way. We're sending the troops in. We're going to clean this bad boy up. You're welcome. What happens here in the state of Washington? Oh, yeah. These are people. We're not really sure. Nothing happens. Nothing happens until citizens absolutely scream at the top of their lungs. Hey, you got a school a block away from this wildly violent, out of control homeless encampment. Could you get your ass up here and get something done? Talking to the governor. And that's a true example of the Ship Canal homeless encampment in Seattle. It wasn't until local residents screamed, hey, we've got a local elementary 1 block from this. I mean, you could stand at the northeast corner of that elementary school and go, oh, wow, look at what's going on over there. This is something else. That doesn't happen to the same degree in Texas, in Florida. You got different leadership that has different values. And one of their values is, and I'll be showing it to you very soon. I'm going to go do a big walkthrough downtown Oklahoma City. Now, it's going to have vacancies. You've got skyscrapers that are, you've got emptiness going on there because everybody went to work from home. What you don't have is a whole bunch of whacked out drug addicts on the streets taking craps, living on the sidewalks, having sex in their tents because the females need their $5 for their hit. So they're going to, take on one customer for $10 and there you go, 2 hits. I mean, that's new street math, right? That's just math. So Democrat cities, wildly different. San Francisco making what I would say is a comeback. I'll bet a slow comeback, but one nonetheless. I think Daniel Lurie is actually really doing some amazing things. And, other people in the homeless industrial complex that are more reasonable will agree with that. Whether or not that's going to transition anytime soon, it's not, because it's going to take years and years and years to overcome the stigma that San Francisco has right now, which is you've got some of the greatest amount of vacancy factor in your commercial buildings. And your street conditions are not ideal and haven't been ideal for a long time. But hey, let's pretend everything's good now that these sales have happened, and this is going to be our transition. We're going to transition to a new era here. Yeah, you're going to transition to something. Whether or not you can kind of keep that policy going the same direction, I don't know. Be interesting to see, right? All right, that's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe because we'll be covering this. More hotels, more big buildings come online. We're going to cover them. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.